Welcome to the Branding PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Hello again. Hey there, and welcome back to the Branding PR Podcast. I am your host, Brandi Sims, back for another week and another episode of the show. Let's get right into it. So I have been digging and looking at some of the latest news. And, I always try to stay abreast of everything that's going on. And I want to talk about AI this week. AI is changing the game across all industries. But specifically, I'm going to talk about PR because obviously, with my comms background, this being a very, very intensive PR and communications podcast, we're going to get into it, right? We're going to talk about it in some capacity, or at least a little bit, right? So, with that being said, it's obviously changing the game in PR as it has done with other industries, but is it helping us? Is it helping us or is it hurting us? That's what we're going to talk about today. And, how this came about, I saw an article write up through the Wall Street Journal. And it specifically talked about how PR firms are scrambling to adopt AI and not only adopt AI, but include it into all of their programming and their strategies. But, there's always a but. There has been some backlash from journalists and reporters and generally media that are saying that they don't like it. They're not happy with it. They don't want to see PR firms start to, adopt AI technology because of the potential ramifications, issues that may arise with that. And, and that's a deep concern. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So obviously want to preface this with just, what we know AI to be. It's evolving, it's changing, it's growing, and with those changes, it's going to require everybody to have to adapt to some capacity in some degree, right? But, the rise of AI, and specifically in PR, it really started, I think, when we started to see other industries take it on and take it over and start to implement it into their own operations and management of their daily, functions, right? We started to see them all do it. And then, of course, rightfully so, PR is going to pick that up too. And so now what you have is you have major PR firms that have been adopting and using AI for a variety of different things, messaging testing, you've got media list generation, that's been a big one. Trend monitoring is another one. So we've been using it, and a lot of these bigger firms have been using it for some time. And it has helped in many ways to improve productivity of the types of work that we have to deal with and what we do. For those that are on this, checking out this episode, that are in the communications field, very well what I'm talking about. It's a very tedious job. There's a lot of writing involved. There's a lot of follow-ups. There's a lot of emails. Oh my gosh, the list goes on. And then don't get me started with the list generation. That's a whole thing. So now with AI, it allows us to automate a lot of these processes. So it cuts our time from what used to take, I'm not even joking when I say this. It could take days, literally days, to build these lists, to update these lists and put these things together. It's taking from that down to a matter of seconds, if not an hour at best, once you go through and get all the information you need and start to cut and edit and all of that good stuff. And of course, verify if it's still, an up-to-date source. So we're taking away a significant amount of time, and PR firms are started to notice it. Even mine, Branding PR, we adopted AI technology probably within the first year of being running the agency. Like, we adopted it very, very early. So it's always something that's been very familiar for us, but for others, it took some time to adopt it, which I get it. It makes sense. You want to make sure that it's right for your team, and for its the functionality and its use is going to be beneficial to what you have going on. So I totally get that. So the types of tools, that we use in PR, as far as AI, obviously ChatGPT, first thing that comes to mind. Proprietary tools, so PR, capitalize on that one, no pun intended. Media monitoring platforms have started to really bake in AI into it. And there's a variety of lists of it now. I mean, and even in me talking about it, it's crazy because when I first got started, a lot of these tools didn't exist. And now it's just like an abundance of things. I think it's dope. I think it's great. I love to see technology evolve and adapt. But I also like the fact that, and really when it solves a problem and supports a need that professionals have. And I think this has very much done that. And it begs the question, what is the promise of AI, right? Now that it's started to rise and you're seeing more firms using it and tapping in, what is the promise of it? I think the promise is that you're going to have faster content creation. Absolutely. You're going to have better targeting with AI involved. You're also going to have data driven insights, which is something that we absolutely love to utilize in PR, especially because in PR, it's traditionally been that type of thing where it's hard to, quote unquote, hard to measure the return on investment. It's hard to measure the outcomes. It's not. If you have the right tools, it's not. Now, if you don't have the right tools, it's going to take forever and it's going to be very difficult. But if you have the right tools and technology, it's not that difficult. You can measure impressions, engagement, even down to sentiments in a matter of seconds, right? That's how AI works and how good it's getting. So there's a lot of really good promises that it has. And so rightfully so, PR professionals and PR firms are, slowly but surely adapting it and including it into the day-to-day functions of the work. And I understand fully. So on the flip side, is it too much? Right. So one of the concerns that have been mentioned in terms of AI usage from PR professionals is that there's the concern of spam, right? Like the deadly spam. You probably have some spam in your inbox right now. But specifically, reporters are overwhelmed that there's an overuse that they're seeing of AI generated pitches. And not even going to lie, being on the other side now and having to interview individuals, I get those pitches and I kind of see where they're coming from because I can spot an AI generated pitch from a mile away. I'm not even going to lie to you. And I kind of joked about it on a social media post a couple days ago on the branding PR page. And I was just like, listen, if your page or not your page, if your post or your email starts with greetings, sir slash madam or whatever, I said something like that or along those lines, you've already lost. You've already lost me because I know for a fact that this is not you writing this. This is literally a chat, okay, generated response. And you didn't even bother to update it or clean it up because I'm a madam. I am the madam in some spaces. No, I'm totally kidding. But yeah, you didn't even bother to update it. And then let's just be honest, we're in the future now, at least now. Who is saying greetings, sir, madam? Like who's doing this? Nobody is doing this right now. Please stop the madness. Stop it. We're not doing all of these things. Okay. Talk like a real person, not a robot. But I digress. Reporters are deeply concerned and rightfully so of the spam that comes with AI generated pitches. And, it is something that I mean, again, just kind of speaking from experience, I have seen an overwhelming amount of these pitches coming in where it's clear that AI was involved and there wasn't really any personalization. And I think that's part of the problem is the lack of personalization and tone is where it falls flat. This is why that is a concern for journalists and reporters is that it doesn't feel real. And I mean, if you read it out, like, let's be real, like you probably think the same thing too. But I know that within my profession, being a PR professional for over 15 years now, I get it. With our roles, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of follow-ups, there's a lot of cold pitches, cold emails that happens. And there are those points where you're just like, listen, if I can just plug this into an Excel spreadsheet, have it just zoom all of this out or send in an e-blast, it would make my day because it will cut so much time for me. And not saying that's wrong or to stop doing that. It's just the way that you're going about it is part of the reason why journalists and reporters have the issue that they have with spam concerns and feeling overwhelmed by all of this AI generated content, because now they're having to decipher between, okay, is this person real or not? Is this quote that they're providing me in response to my request, is it real or fake? Or is it just something they just plugged in there and just send it off in their way? And that's a problem, because again, if they're writing articles on and based upon expert insight, they want the expert's insight, not ChatGPT. You get what I'm saying? So, definitely with the lack of personalization that people are including in their pitches, it's giving this. It's giving that, this is spam. You didn't even take any time to update this. So, why would I want to read it and why would I want to engage with it? And I understand. I get it from the media standpoint, the frustration in that. You also have to consider, too, because we talked about AI generated pitches, right? But there's also the other side where there's a rise of fake thought leaders. Okay. There are people that are coming out with AI bots, right? That are responding, doing interviews. I kid you not. I had a colleague of mine tell me the story about a reporter that actually made it a point to include a disclaimer in their journal requests that they will not accept interviews by AI bots. And I was sitting there like, you have got to be kidding me. And they're like, I'm not. Like, literally, show me the disclaimer and everything. And then shortly thereafter, there was this incident in the news where a I guess a lawyer had actually sent an AI bot in his place to present something in the courts on a Zoom, on a Zoom. And the judge was like, absolutely not. They were not having it. They went completely smooth off. And I honestly don't even blame them. But they were like, absolutely not. If you're not here and you're not available to do your job, then like, no, like it's done. It's done. And it's kind of the same thing with this. If you have fake thought leaders that are coming in and doing interviews on behalf of you or behalf of a client, that's a problem, because it dilutes the authentic voices that these journalists are looking for and need. You can't send a robot in your place, guys. Like, come on now. Like, at this point, I mean, it's giving iRobot. It's giving, we are just, man, look how advanced we are in technology. But at the same time, it's like, come on now. Like, this is common sense. Don't send a robot to do your job. Like, you need to go do your job. They need to see your face. They need to hear your insights. They need to deal with a human. And honestly, if you're sending a bot to conduct interviews, it just sounds very lazy. It really does. It sounds very lazy. And honestly, it cheapens the experience. And finally, I think it's a little disrespectful to the media outlet, to be quite honest, like that you wouldn't even be bothered to go actually sit down and have a one-on-one with this person because of whatever you have going on. You're too busy, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's a little insulting and a little unprofessional. But with that being said, these are kind of the instances where you have to ask the question, is this too much or is it becoming too much? And I'd like to say that on those ends where you have too many excessive auto-generated AI pitches to people actually sending AI bots into interviews, I think that's a bit much. It's a bit much. Yes, streamline down your process. Yes, use it for automation and improving, those simpler tasks. But when it comes to personalization and really connecting with the media, you have to really connect with them, like be a real person. And that's it. That's it. That's all that's to it. So, my take, how I think, you should use AI and really and truly use AI in the right way. For starters, you need to recognize that you need to use it to enhance, not replace the actual strategy. Like, period, full stop. It is definitely a tool and not a replacement. You'll hear me say this often on other episodes when we talk about AI, but I want to reinforce this because I want you guys to really get this ingrained that it is just a tool. It's not a replacement of your intellect. It's not a replacement of your vision. It's not a replacement of real work that you still need to do. All it is just enhance what you already have. Like, think of it like this. Like, I mean, anytime that you use ChatGPT, you have to give it something for it to give you anything back, right? So you have to think of it in the sense of all it is doing truly is enhancing. Also, it's sharing information that's already publicly available. It's pulling this information from the internet. Okay. So this idea that you think, oh, wow, this is just so unique, it could very well be something that has already been used. That's why it's pulling it. Right. So you have to really consider and really take this into consideration when you're using these tools and specifically using AI, that this is something that's going to enhance what you already have, not replace it. Period, point blank. It is enhancement, not a replacement to your strategy. You still need to strategize. You still need to add your voice in there. You still need to make tweaks. Let it pump out some information. You shared some information, go back and forth, but do your own tweaks off of it and personalize it as best as you can so that it really speaks and showcases your voice. That's the main thing. That's the most important thing. Always, and which actually leads me to this, always human checking. Um, Always make sure that you are actually going through and checking the messaging. So that means actually looking at it and reading it through. Does this sound like something that I would actually write? Does this sound like something that a human would write? Okay. Like that's what I mean by that. Human checking is such an important part of this. And especially when you're doing content creation, when you're doing messaging, you need to have that third eye, that second look, that is you or another person that can sit down there and really assess, is this something that will come across the way that it needs to come across to our audience? If it checks all the boxes, great. If it doesn't, go back to the drawing board. And that's it. It's especially important with this that you're looking at the tone, right? Because tone matters. You're looking at the audience alignment. Does my audience connect with this? Will they connect with this? And does it make sense for the style that we typically speak to them in? Is it consistent with that? And then finally, the cultural relevance. There has been many times, and this is again why you have to do your human checking when you're going through this messaging. There's been many times, even as of late, that I've asked chat to build something out. I give it the information, I tell it how to do it, and da 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 da, spits out something. And the material that it's giving me, if I did not know this, I would think, oh, this is perfect, right? But the information that it's sharing is actually information from like 3 years ago, like especially in terms of articles. I've had it plug things, I've had it do things, but even this is like an area where I don't know if it's just still updating and getting more familiar and absorbing, because again, it's constantly changing, it's constantly training and improving. But there will be times where it will give me something that is completely either out of date, incorrect, okay, inauthentic, or all of the above. It'll give me that. And if I did not have that second eye to go and look and verify and say, actually, this never happened, and this didn't happen on this day either, and actually, this is not factual information. If I didn't double check that, I would be looking crazy. And people would be talking about, why are you talking about things from 2023 when we're here now in 2025? Okay, I'm just saying, you have to get a double check on those. Don't just rely solely on chat to just send you things. You got to take a look because sometimes it can be wrong. Just saying. Um, so in terms of creative prompts, how can you really utilize this? I think it's when you start to build some really creative prompts within AI, again, it's pulling and sourcing from the internet. So it's not quite unique as you would hope, but it's giving you something to work with. That's super beneficial in the ideation process. You want to get those ideas, you want to get that creative juice flowing, and you want to see different examples and different ways that you can do something. That's not a bad thing. I think in this instance, especially for PR pros, this can absolutely help us in getting more thoughtful and more engaging results from these PR tools, right? It's when you can actually tie in all of these things together and make it make sense. Make it make sense, but also help you as you are building and growing in terms of your creativeness, right? You want to give it that option. So definitely in terms of developing those creative prompts for you, that's something that it can absolutely help you with. And it's good. Take those ideas. But the goal is to not just lean on just what they have spit out, right? And just take it and run with it. No, tailor it, nurture it, customize it to make it make sense for you. And sometimes maybe it won't be something that you'll end up using, but it'll at least get you on that path of creating more ideas that can come from that. That's what you want. But I think definitely how PR pros can absolutely utilize this and really benefit from it. I think it's going to allow, especially when you're developing more creative prompts, it's going to allow PR pros to truly get those thoughtful results that make sense from AI tools and really get the most value from it. 100%. Um, One thing that I've discussed offline many times with other colleagues is the ethical considerations of AI, right? One thing that we do as part of our agency is we do offer full transparency with our clients that listen, if we are using AI for a pitch or if we're using AI for a press release or something like, we disclose that. I know not everybody's going to do that, but I think transparency is key. So you have to consider that within your own space of what that looks like if you do decide to use AI, especially in a creative space, right? Where you're dealing with writing, when you're dealing with design, you do owe it, I think. Okay, because again, this is tying into the ethical boundaries of this. You do owe it to your clients to let them know if this has been enhanced in that capacity. And just be transparent, honestly. Be transparent. Are you using tools to improve certain things? Are you using tools to enhance certain things? Just so that people are aware and they know, and it's not something that's a shock for them. And definitely disclosing it in the pitches. Disclosing it in the pitches is a big piece of that too. Depending on what that relationship is like with your clients, you want to disclose that information. And then finally, respecting that data privacy. People often forget that, again, ChatGPT is constantly growing, absorbing, but so is AI. It's constantly evolving. But with that, there are issues with data. So when you're going on there, and I don't know if this is something that you've heard before, but they tell you don't give specifics about yourself, like social security number, mailing address, things like that, because it is absorbing all of that information, guys, and that information is getting sucked into that system. So if somebody asks, oh, well, what's such and such information, okay, well, I'm going to spit that right on out, and you just gave it to them. So there is an aspect of data privacy that we don't consider and we don't really think about. So it's why it's so important that you have to really be careful with how you use it and what information that you're sharing, and then also what information you're sharing on behalf of who you're working with, sharing their information, their personal details in there. You got to be careful with that because you're exposing them indirectly to the potentials of, theft, and online robbery. I don't know. There's definitely that risk involved. All right. So major takeaway from this is that, AI isn't the enemy. It's not the enemy, guys. It is our friend, but misuse of AI is. Okay. That is our problem. Great PR can still happen. Great PR is still about people. Okay. But it's also about relationships. It's also about trust. Okay. And we want to make sure that we're maintaining that. And we want to make sure that we are, consistent with that. It's important whether you're in PR or not. It's important across the board if you're going to use these types of tools that you understand not only how to use it, but also to use it appropriately and ethically. That's such an important aspect of it. But again, AI isn't the enemy, misuse is. Okay. Use it for good and not for the bad. And you should be fine. Be transparent. You're building a relationship, credibility, and trust amongst your audience as well as your clients. Make sure that you are consistent in that. And the rest will work itself out and you'll be able to show up for those that you need to in the way that you need to. But AI tools, it's amazing. I love them. Like I said before, we adopted it very, very early and have been glad to automate down a lot of our processes as well as improve a lot of our processes because with it and because of it. But definitely, there was a very clear understanding of what it's going to do, what it's not going to do, but also just the ethical aspect of it that we're using it appropriately. And we're still learning all of the tricks in the trade that come with it. So I want to invite you all to, one, share with me, how are you using it? How are you using AI in your work? Is it improving your processes, or is it making it more difficult? Are you kind of like, I'm not dealing with it at all? I want to know and hear from you. What are your thoughts are on it? Also, just want to plug the newsletter, the Branding PR Insider newsletter. It is our new biweekly newsletter. We put a lot of information in there, tips, tricks, you name it, as well as upcoming episodes and speaker opportunities, which I know you guys absolutely love. So we're going to be more consistent in keeping those in there and making sure that we share really cool opportunities, not only for speaker opportunities, but also events that you definitely need to check out or at least have on your radar. So definitely subscribe to the Branding PR Insider newsletter. You can do this at brandingpr.com, as well as some of the activities that we have coming up. You can always stay tuned and update it with us. Well, until next time, it's always a pleasure. I will see you guys next week. And yeah, let me know, how are you using AI? Bye-bye.